Welcome to the Comicstorian channel, where we take some of your favorite trade paperbacks and graphic novels. We take some of your favorite video games. We take some of your favorite TV shows and movies, and we break down the narrative and the lore within them into a video, allowing you to get caught up on all of your favorite things inside of your favorite pop culture element. The purpose of this is to allow you to get caught up so that you can go watch the latest episode or pick up the latest comic book and know exactly what is going on and not feel lost. And today, we're going to cover a storyline which is crazy epic, known as the Spirits of Vengeance. There's not much backstory to give you here, except that the book involves Ghostrider, Blade, Damien Hellstrom, and Satana, the daughter and son of Satan, as they go on an adventure where heaven and hell are going to fight. I hope you guys enjoy this storyline, because I got more to tell you at the end of the video as to where this is going. And if you do enjoy this storyline, give this video a like, because we want to know if you want the next parts of this. And don't forget, if you want to talk about why you like Ghostrider and Blade and whoever the hell Damien Hellstrom is, hit me up on Twitter at twitter.com/Comicstorian. We review comic books and single tweet reviews there, and we talk about all of your favorite comic book elements while responding to you. We're trying to grow that presence and would appreciate your support in that effort. Anyway, let's get me off the screen now and bring you the story of the Spirits of Vengeance. Today's video is brought to you by our sponsor, ExpressVPN. Do you often use public Wi-Fi when out getting a cup of coffee or going on a trip? Well, doing so without a VPN is putting your personal information in danger. If a hacker steals your information, they could open up bank accounts in your name, access your emails, or even your social media, all because you didn't have ExpressVPN protection. ExpressVPN is the fastest VPN service out there and has server locations in 94 countries. ExpressVPN is easy to use with just one click and has apps for every device. TechRadar rated ExpressVPN as the #1 VPN service. ExpressVPN costs less than $7 a month, and it comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. I use it during my trips to make sure that all of my information is as safe as it can be. Take back your internet privacy today and find out how you can get 3 months free by clicking the link in the description box. expressvpn.com/complete story. Take back your privacy today with ExpressVPN. Along the long stretch of road is Route 66, and Johnny Blaze sits down to enjoy a cup of coffee and some breakfast before setting out on a trip. He sits at the bar when a blonde man walks up asking Johnny if he can take a seat next to him. Johnny looks at the man asking, "Do we know each other?" And the blonde-haired man tells him that he knows him. That's why he's here. The man then moves his hand, revealing a gunshot wound, and he digs his fingers in, pulling out a small bullet. He drops that bullet onto Johnny's plate, and Johnny tells him to take it easy. The man starts to glow red hot, and he says to take that, Hellstrom. He'll know what to. But before he could finish, the man's body bursts into a blinding blaze, knocking everything back. As the man turns to ash, Johnny takes the bullet, placing it into his coat, telling the bartender, "Thanks for the coffee." He goes out, getting ready to put on his helmet, when suddenly, a police car pulls up, and 2 sheriffs step out. Johnny says, whatever it is, they've got the wrong guy. But one of the sheriffs tells him no, they've got the right guy. He has something that doesn't belong to him. They're gonna need him to hand it over, or pay the price. The sheriff's voice slowly changes into a demonic tone. So Johnny lets the Spirit of Vengeance come out asking him, "You dare speak to me about payment?" As the Ghostrider comes out, he slams his hell chains on the ground and he whips them around the transformed demon's necks. Johnny pulls them in closer as the fire burns hotter, telling them, "Look if you dare! Look into the face of vengeance! Look and burn!" Later that night at Damien Hellstrom's office, Johnny looks through a book with the pictures of the demon, stating that this is the one. He's positive. Anything they should be worried about? Hellstrom tells him no, it's just some lesser demons, but demons nonetheless. Ones that bullets shouldn't kill. And they said to take it to him? Well, that's not much to go on. But there is a contact that might point them in the right direction. The next day, the two head over to a shoddy building in the Bronx, and Johnny asks if whoever is in there is really going to help them. Hellstrom knocks on the door, stating that Curtis has been helpful to him in the past. They just need the proper offerings. The door swings open, and the large, grotesque man that is Curtis says, "It is a pleasure to see you again." Hellstrom holds out a box of donuts, stating that he'll need something examined. The usual price, a dozen assorted. Curtis smiles as he eats a donut, asking, "How can I say no to the great Damien Hellstrom? What do you have to show?" Hellstrom holds out the bullet, and Curtis looks at it, stating that he can feel a vibe coming off of it. That they are right to be worried, however, he does not have any of the details on it. So many old things are surfacing again, must be because the time draws near. They would do well to check in with those clucking hens on Wall Street. Someone of his ilk isn't allowed, but you may find some of the answers that you are looking for. Hellstrom and Johnny leave, with Johnny asking, "Who was that?" Hellstrom tells him a deserter from history's oldest war, sentenced to the existence as he was just seen. But come, they have another stop to make. Meanwhile, elsewhere, a short, hunched man pours himself a glass, stating that he is quite disappointed in the way events are unfolding. Whatever the case is, my silver has been lost. That is why I've put you in charge of overseeing it. A pale-skinned woman says to please accept her apologies, Necrodamus. But at least the spy was dealt with. His secret is safe. Necrodamus sprinkles a pinch of ingredients into his cauldron, stating that their problems are twofold. He will determine the best way to recover the lost silver, but in the meantime, she will look to see if there are any other spies. You do want to redeem yourself, don't you, Razan? Razan stares in silence, and Necrodamus says that he will take that as a yes. Now go! Back with Hellstrom and Johnny, they walk into a fancy restaurant, and an old woman calls out to Hellstrom, stating that they don't see him around much. Hellstrom sits down, telling her that he has had duties elsewhere, and he was hoping to see some of his old circle. This place is, nearly empty. The man behind Hellstrom says that it's getting to be that time again. Every 1,000 years or so, they get a little tense, although it feels a bit different this time. Hellstrom sips his tea, asking how, and the man says that he's not sure why, but there's a fear in the air. A lot of them are cleaning out, getting to high ground, finding a deep hole, weathering the storm, all that jazz. The old woman powders her face, stating that Edwin's right, there's something wrong. But if anyone knows what it is, well, they're not telling the story. Hellstrom turns back, asking what about her? Not leaving Agnes? So she tells him that she is far too old to be afraid. In spite of what others think, there's nowhere else to go. As the two leave, Johnny asks, well, what now? Hellstrom takes out his phone, stating that they learned that this is much bigger than they thought. There is a lot to do, so they should bring in some help. Johnny asks, anyone in mind? And Hellstrom says that he has a candidate, someone who covers a lot of the same territory. The real question is, though, will he even pick up? Elsewhere, two bank robbers jump into their getaway van and they begin to speed down the street. When from up above, a shadow jumps onto the van, reaching and stabbing the driver. The driver bursts into flames and the van crashes as the two remaining robbers call out. They start to show their vampiric fangs, and as they look up, they shout, "You!" As the shadow cuts the head off the vampire. Hellstrom reaches the voicemail, and he hears this individual's voicemail. It's me. You wouldn't have this number in the first place if it weren't important. Hellstrom leaves the message. Hey, Hellstrom here. I'm not sure how to ask this, but I was wondering if you could help us avert the complete and utter destruction of all existence. That's when Blade's phone pings with a new notification. A short while later, at Eduardo's rare and collectible books, Hellstrom looks at a tome while Johnny and Blade look around. Hellstrom says that this is good. What does he owe? Eduardo says actually it's on the house, and Hellstrom asks him why is that. Eduardo takes his glasses off, stating that it's compensation. How can I put this? Just know it isn't personal. You and the half-breed are free to leave, but Mr. Blaze stays. Hellstrom asks him why is that, and Eduardo's face begins to strain, stating, you know why. Soon Eduardo and the rest of the patrons begin to transform into demons, and they begin to assault the team. Blade shouts, book browsers my butt! Johnny brings out the ghostwriter, shouting, cleanse them with fire! As Blade begins to clear out the lesser demons, Eduardo lunges on top of Hellstrom and pins him to the ground. And just then, a fiery chain whips out, grabbing Eduardo by the neck, with Johnny pulling him off, asking, you wanted Johnny Blaze! Well, you've got the ghostwriter, you demon cockroach! Later, Eduardo opens up his eyes as he hangs upside down, with Hellstrom stating, if you would like to get back in my good graces, you might want to explain what's going on. So Eduardo tells him, I'm dreadfully sorry. Hope this unfortunate misunderstanding won't damage our long-term relationship. However, there's a bounty on Blaze. The instructions were simple. Get Blaze, recover the silver, that is all. No one knows who ordered the bounty, but the messenger was Razan, the one called the Night Jackal. She insisted the job be done by tomorrow night. She was very clear on that point. Johnny asks, what is going on? I keep hearing about something coming. And Hellstrom tells him that there is something called the Covenant. The three head into the next room with Hellstrom opening up the tome stating that the Covenant is an ancient agreement. They're all familiar with the story, or at least the basics. There was a revolt in heaven. A third of the angels were expelled. The Covenant was a bit of the resulting bureaucracy. Johnny says, "I'm not following." And Hellstrom tells him, "Think of it as a sort of diplomatic summit held every 1,000 years between heaven and hell. Once every 1,000 years, both sides form a demilitarized zone, a portal, where their emissaries meet to discuss terms, air grievances, trade prisoners, or whatever is needed. And neither side makes a move on the other. To do so would mean nothing less than mutually assured destruction, because the balance between heaven and hell is that precious. It has been that way since the dawn of time, and it will remain that way unless something comes along to tip the scales. This silver bullet, this isn't ordinary silver. Have you heard of Judas?" Johnny tells him, "The Bible guy who betrayed Jesus and hung himself?" Hellstrom goes on, "Yeah, but not before he was paid for his betrayal. 30 pieces of silver, which means there is more of these little beauties out there and someone is turning them into weapons." Later in southern India, a satanic group is holding a ritual as they prepare to sacrifice a woman to their lord Satan. The priest shouts that their lord will reward their faith with eternal wealth and endless women. A voice then calls out, "Yeah, don't count on that. Eternal wealth and women seems like a lot for one scrawny little co-ed." The priest turns back shouting to grab the woman, and the woman asks, "Is that a pentagram?" Sloppy work. "Doubt my father would be impressed. In fact, I'll be happy to send you all to meet him." As Satana bathes the cult in fire, she asks the priest, if it's endless women he wants, then let them kiss. She kisses the priest, and as she does, his body begins to burn from the inside out. Hellstrom looks around stating that their father wouldn't approve of her kissing strange men. Satana lets go of the burnt body, asking if there's a reason why he's bothering her while she's working. He holds out the silver bullet and Satana stares at it stating, "No way." Meanwhile, elsewhere in a barren desert, two cars arrive in an old warehouse as a man begins to step out. Necrodamus tells the man that it is such an honor to finally meet with, but the large man stops him stating, "My time is valuable, so dispense with the pleasantries and tell me why I am even out here talking to a third-rate sorcerer." Necrodamus quickly opens the doors to the warehouse stating, "Of course, allow me this short demonstration. What I have will change everything." Soon, everyone walks in, and inside is a group of angels strung up by chains. Necrodamus says that he assumes most of these faces are familiar, yes? Surely you know Barachael. Necrodamus then opens up a gun case, telling the large man that he knows what they've been at with Barachael for a while. One side pushing the other and back again. The war was designed to perpetrate itself. Not a war that could be won, but this will change that. Necrodamus takes out a small machine gun. Barachael asks, what is he going to do, shoot him? "Go ahead, the cosmos will spit me back out again." So, Necrodamus smiles, opening fire on the angels. Instead of just taking the hits, all of them turn to ash. As demon horns grow out of the large man's head, he says, "Seeing is believing. On behalf of the infernal armies of hell, allow me to say, you have my full attention." Necrodamus goes on to tell the story of Judas and his betrayal, but that was what Judas felt. Judas felt that he was the one who was betrayed, ravaged by anger and confusion and guilt. Judas took his own life. As fate would have it, Matthias was the one who found him, which later would lead to him replacing Judas as the 12th apostle. The gospel of Matthias was thought to be lost, however, it was found. When Matthias went to collect the 30 pieces of silver that Judas was given, Matthias saw something. Judas's malevolence. Perhaps his very soul had bonded with the silver. The coins had become pure evil, but also powerful in a way that Matthias couldn't fully understand. So he did what he thought best. He hid that blood money. Eventually, the silver was found, along with a warning from Saint Matthias. Those who found it were true believers of the stories and continued to keep the silver locked away, and it's been that way ever since. However, that's the thing with humans. They're weak, they're corruptible, more cheaply purchased. The large man says that he is a very cunning sorcerer. The angels here are merely foot soldiers. An archangel is different. If I'm going to take the covenant, I need to take aim at Michael. So you better make it good, because I'll only get one shot. Back in New York, Hellstrom meets with Edwin, asking what is going on. The last time that they spoke, he said that he needed to lay low. Edwin sighs, telling him that no place is safe now. He didn't know what to do. This roof garden is one of the really old places that not many know about. Hellstrom then asks, what does that have to do with me? And Edwin says, you've got to hide me. Agnes was found dead. That grotesque friend of yours, Curtis, is missing. Anyone who has come in contact with you has died by some unknown force. Blade then asks, what about the lady the bookstore dude told us about, Razan? Edwin shouts, Razan? And Hellstrom asks, do you know her? Edwin says, I hear things. Stories about a half-goddess released from a 2,000-year-old sentence, forced to serve the sorcerer who rescued her. If this has anything to do with her, well, we're doomed. But maybe if we go to Port Brimstone. Johnny then asks what's that, and Blade tells him that he's only heard of it from the Fang circles. But it's your basic wretched hive of scum and villainy den. Could be some useful information there. Hellstrom then says, maybe, but I'm unwanted there. My dear sister, on the other hand. That's when a shadow looms overhead. Razan rides down on a winged demon, slashing at Hellstrom, causing him to drop the tiny silver bullet. The demons start to crawl up the side of the building to attack, with Razan swooping in once again, snatching the bullet before anyone has a chance to get it. Johnny releases the ghostrider, telling him, it's fine, I'll handle it. He jumps on the hell bike, giving chase, asking, do you really think you can escape vengeance? Razan looks back whistling, and a second later, a demon leaps into the air, tackling Johnny, throwing him off the hell bike. A short while later, after they recover from their battle, Hellstrom sighs, stating that it seems they have hit a low point. But with Satana and Blade, they begin to make their way below Manhattan into one of the worst smelling places in the world, Port Brimstone. The two head into the bar, and Satana tells the bartender, Perry, that she's been looking for some information. Perry tells her that he doesn't know anything about it. But even if he did know something, he still knows nothing. Things have been weird lately, and everyone is filling up the place looking for a place to not be seen. Something big is going down, and he's going to keep his nose out of it. A group of vampires overhear the conversation, and they lean in towards Blade, stating, it looks like your time is over. Since you're here now, we will start with... But before the vampire could finish, Blade stabs him in the heart, throwing his burning body aside. Satana waves her hand, setting the other two on fire, and suddenly the bar goes quiet. Perry tells everyone that the show's over. Personal dispute, go back to what you were doing. Satana turns back, stating, now, before we were rudely interrupted, I believe you have some information. Perry slams two glasses down, telling her, no. However, there might be someone you can talk to in the back. Now, get going. Blade gets up, opening the door, and a woman on a sofa says that the man they're looking for is named Necrodamus. Satana asks, is that so? And the woman takes another drink, stating that this is about the silver, right? Because Necrodamus has it. Blade takes a seat, asking, how do you know this Necrodamus has the silver? And the woman laughs, stating it's easy, because she's the one who gave it to him. The woman goes on to state that she used to manage the security for the Judas silver. It was just sitting there, so she figured why not trade it for something, right? She got herself a spell book, higher level stuff that she wasn't used to, and that was the only way to get it. Blade folds his arms, telling her, right, never mind the havoc that Necrodamus is planning, right? You aren't exactly winning us over here. She yells that she didn't want to know what he was planning. But now this is getting out of hand. When this is all over, she wants to be known for at least trying to help. Satana then asks, how do we know that you're not just feeding us some false information to throw us off? The woman then says that there's another reason why she was trying to help. That freak Razan tried to kill her. She does all of Necrodamus' heavy lifting. Anyone who's ever heard of the silver is silenced. So if they don't believe her sense of good citizenship, then at least they can believe in her sense of self-preservation. Blade tells her, believing you and forgiving you are two different things. You gotta give us more than his gopher if you want to get on our good side. The woman sits for a moment and thinks, then snaps her fingers, stating, that's it, Ragnar. Blade says, Rag what? The woman continues, Ragnar is a blacksmith dwarf who took a turn for the dark side. He's the only one who would have the skill and motivation to forge the Judas silvers. Not that she's met the guy personally. Blade sighs, stating that he's going to take a guess and state that she doesn't know where he's located. Satana then says, actually, she might. Later at the volcano in Mexico, Satana tells the others that Ragnar needs the hottest possible fires for his forge, and he likes volcanoes. Once inside, Ragnar sits on his volcanic throne, stating that he should feel flattered that the famous Damon Hellstrom needs the legendary forging skills of Ragnar. What did he bring? Rare metals? Magical in nature? Hellstrom tells him, indeed. The task I have in mind needs a great amount of skill, and if your reputation is true, then we could be in business. Hellstrom goes on stating, word's gotten around about your latest project. Ragnar says, aye, is that so? I heard that there's a trail of bodies 10 miles long, specifically not to spread the word. Hellstrom tells Ragnar that he's a bit curious how it turned out. Like, if there was even the slightest mistake. Just to be reassured before he goes hammering away on the rare item. Ragnar picks up his hammer, asking, if I understand this, you want to know if the weapon forged with the Judas silver has any weaknesses. Ragnar spins back, cracking Hellstrom and Blade, asking, do you take me for a fool? Satana begins to call forth fire, with Ragnar telling her, "I work with the fires of the earth itself. Your flames are nothing." Johnny brings up the Ghostrider, stating, "Then maybe you should try mine! My fire burns the soul!" After being wrapped up in the hellfire chains, Ragnar states that the Judas weapon was his greatest achievement. To see it undone so casually. Hellstrom then asks, "Does the world really need to be turned upside down just to satisfy your sense of artistic achievement? Tell me something, anything." The next night at the diner on Route 66, everyone is sitting with Hellstrom drinking coffee, and Blade says, "Around the place where you got the silver is kinda vague." Johnny tells him, "At least we also know when." Blade says, "Yeah, tonight." Doesn't leave a lot of time to put the rest of this puzzle together. Satana gets up from her seat, stating that she just realized something. Damon isn't thinking, he's procrastinating. She walks over to the table that Hellstrom is sitting at and tells him they both know who can answer their questions. He was there when the Covenant was made. Hellstrom's face begins to twist and he sighs, stating, "I was really hoping that we could do this without talking to him." A short while later, in the depths of hell, a lowly demon runs through the hall shouting, "Lord Marduk, we're under attack! The main hall is under assault and—" Marduk slouches in his throne, telling the demon to be silent. It's just his kids. Hellstrom and Satana walk down the hall. Marduk then asks, "To what do I owe the pleasure of this family reunion?" Hellstrom tells him, "You know." So Marduk gets up, stating, "The Covenant!" "Yes, would you like to know?" Satana then says, "You're just gonna tell us? Like that? Color me suspicious." Marduk laughs. "Do you not have any faith in your father? Fact is, I rather enjoy bragging. But more importantly, it doesn't matter what I tell you because you can't do anything to stop it. But yes, the Covenant, a sort of diplomatic summit every 1,000 years between heaven and hell. You could think of it like two divorcing parents agreeing to stay civilized in front of the children. The mortals being the children, of course. When I proposed the Covenant, there was questions how everyone would know a supreme being wouldn't just change the rules and play fair. So I accepted the challenge. The Covenant was made and I stepped away." Satana states that she doesn't understand, and Hellstrom tells her it's Philosophy 101. Can God create a rock so big that even he cannot lift it? Marduk goes on stating, "That's right. Nobody controls the Covenant. Failsafes are triggered automatically if one side tries to interfere with the other." Hellstrom then asks, "So Necrodamus found the loophole?" And Marduk says, "It's more of a design flaw. The wards around the Covenant keep the agents of heaven and hell from interfering with one another. However, there's nothing keeping the mortals from entering." Hellstrom then asks, "What about the silvers?" And Marduk tells him, "Most see Judas's betrayal as the greatest in history. But from Judas's point, he was the one betrayed. He thought he was following a leader, someone who would throw off the yoke of Roman oppression. But he just ended up a martyr. Betrayal and vengeance are opposite sides of the same coin. Judas's spirit festers within the silver, eager for revenge. But when Necrodamus assassinates the heavenly emissary, Judas's revenge will be complete. The result is that the portal from heaven will be slammed closed forever. Basically, heaven just cuts its losses, and well, there will be nothing more to stop the armies of hell from sweeping across the earth. Hopefully now you'll be a little more impressed with your old man." And all Hellstrom and Satana can do is stare at the giant army gathered at the hell gates. Back up at the surface, Johnny and Blade step out to take a ride, when suddenly a giant beaming light strikes down. Blade asks, "Covenant time?" Johnny tells him, "Yep. Looks like Hellstrom and Satana will just have to catch up." At the center of the light, two portals open, one from heaven, one from hell. The Archangel Michael floats down, stating that it's been a pleasure, Beleth. And the large man from before says that it's nice to see him again. 1,000 years just flies by, huh? Shall we just waive the reading of the rules? After so many millennia, we both know how this works by now. Michael asks, "The Covenant was meant to make sure that both sides obey the rules. Grievances are aired here. Frankly, I'm tempted to make an official complaint." Beleth smiles, telling him, "I've broken no rules. Your infernal majesty is entitled to try and tilt things in his favor. It is the very nature of our conflict, Michael." And Michael tells him, "With mortals, yes, not with the Covenant. The rules are absolute, and there have been rumors that there have been attempts to undermine them." Just a short distance away, Johnny says, "I'm the key to this?" Hellstrom tells him, "Well, Ghostrider specifically. The whole vengeance thing is the key. When Necrodamus assassinates the Archangel, the gate to heaven will close permanently. My sister and I can't enter the Covenant, but a mortal like Necrodamus could." Just then, a speeding car drives by and Hellstrom says, "And it looks like he's already making his move." Satana then tells everyone that that may be so, but this horde of demons coming this way is going to make things a lot more difficult. So Johnny lets out the Ghostrider and says, "Necrodamus won't get far. Just keep the demons off." Hellstrom tells him, "Right. If the demons want fire, then they can come feel the burn." Up ahead, Necrodamus looks in his rearview mirror to see Johnny Blaze, the Ghostrider, closing in, calling out to Razan to do something. Just then, Razan soars overhead, attacking Johnny and Blade, knocking him off the bike. Razan swoops in again, hitting Johnny to the ground, but he gets back up, asking, "Do you think you could bring me low? You do know that I'm one of the greatest calamities!" He grabs his chains, whipping it, wrapping it around Razan's leg and pulling. Back with Hellstrom and Satana, the two hold the demons as best as they can, and then a voice calls out to them to rest easy, Hellstrom. Hellstrom looks back, asking, "Who is?" But when he sees the group of angels, the leader tells him that they'll handle things from here. As the angels and demons clash, Hellstrom tells Satana that they have to hurry and help the others. Back at the Covenant, though, Necrodamus drives through the barrier with Michael looking up on the cliff, asking, "Who goes there?" Necrodamus gets out, bowing, stating that he is immortal. But there is nothing mere about him. He is the one who would change the universe forever. He just felt a formal introduction was in order. Back with Johnny, he slams Razan to the ground as she kicks him back, stating that he clearly knows not who he speaks to. She is the Night Jackal, the half-goddess. Look upon her and see destruction. Johnny gets back up, telling her, "Rank has no hold here. Even half-goddesses can burn!" As Johnny releases a firestorm towards Razan, she leaps through ready to strike, but before she can, Blade rides by, jumping off the bike, sending it right into Razan, knocking her away. He lands, telling Johnny, "Hurry up and go. Hellstrom said that you're the only one who could do this, remember?" Back at the Covenant, Necrodamus walks over to his trunk, stating, "I just have one request if you don't mind." And Michael asks, "What is that?" Necrodamus takes out the RPG, stating, "Smile, you heavenly jerk." He pulls the trigger, firing the rocket, with Johnny speeding by faster than the rocket. Before it can hit Michael, Johnny jumps off the bike, taking the hit, and is blown away. He lays there smoldering. All hope is lost. But then, his head leans up. He gets up, pulling the silver out of his body, telling Necrodamus, "You meddle with powers you barely comprehend. Behold, the Judas Silver, a weapon of vengeance! And vengeance has always been the Ghostrider's domain!" As the silvers tink from hitting the ground. But Les says that this is rather interesting. "I suppose that would bring the Covenant to a close. See you in 1,000 years, Michael." The barrier begins to fade, and Michael says, "I suppose that Beleth is right. I now declare the Covenant concluded. There is nothing left to do here." Johnny shouts, "That is untrue! There remains the duty of which I have been charged. Vengeance and penance." He grabs onto Necrodamus, with Razan flying by, grabbing him, stating that saving his worthless skin makes them even. She serves him no longer. Once the barrier is fully gone, Blade then asks, "So what just happened?" Hellstrom explains that the spirit of Zarathos was the ultimate arbiter of vengeance. However much Judas may have felt wrong, Zarathos judged his crime against humanity to be far greater. Judged and past sentenced. And the Ghostrider was the instrument to execute that sentence. Satana then asks, "What do you mean it was?" Hellstrom says that he wouldn't be surprised if the Silver's interaction with the Ghostrider acted as a sort of cleansing. There's no real handbook for this stuff. So Blade says, "Wait, how could the Ghostrider even enter the Covenant? He's a demon spirit, right?" Hellstrom says that that is the common misconception. In Zarathos' case, the term demon is used rather generically. Technically, the spirit is a denizen of hell. But the more interesting question is, why would the most powerful beings in the cosmos design a covenant that a bumbling mortal could enter? Michael appears, stating, "Actually, that's easily explained. It wasn't a mistake at all. Humanity has always had free will, or none of this would mean anything. That even means what you call interference. Men must be allowed to bring the world to the brink of ruin, just as other men must be allowed to step up and stop it. There is one thing that your father never understood about the war between heaven and hell, Mr. Hellstrom." Hellstrom asks, "Oh yeah? What's that?" And Michael says that heaven is never trying to win. Blade then says, "But losing sucks." And Michael tells him, "I wouldn't say that we're eager to lose. Rather, we want humanity to win for itself. Our job is to make sure that you all have a fair chance. Mankind is the ones who are doing the heavy lifting. Each of you have a dark side, but I'm glad that the humanity halves took responsibility. Heaven owes each of you a favor." As Michael fades into the dark, Hellstrom sighs, stating, "There's only one question left. What are we going to do with the silver?" And there you have it. There's more to the Ghostrider than meets the eye. He's not a Transformer, he's the Ghost Rider. Anyway, Ghost Rider is one of my favorite superheroes, like I'd say B or C tier. I don't really know where he falls in, but he's definitely not an A tier superhero. Either way, he's one of my favorites. Blade's epic as hell, but you know what happens after this? Do you want to know what happens after this? A little story known as Damnation, in which Doctor Strange has to fight against the forces of hell, featuring some of your favorite spirits of vengeance. And we're going to be covering that very soon, finally. It's a storyline that came out in Marvel like last year sometime, and we just never got around to it. Anyway, if you want to know what happens in that storyline, then consider subscribing to our channel right here at Comicstorian, hitting that little bell in the corner as it will tell you what's coming next and when things come out, and just joining the Comicstorian army, being a part of the family here, talking comic books in our comments or going to our Twitter and Instagram. We're trying to build a comic book community here, and we'd love for you to join that. You can also join us on our Discord, where we talk to you more directly on a regular basis. We've got gaming clans over there for Destiny, Minecraft, Warframe, and Final Fantasy 14, but we also have chat rooms for comic books from DC to Marvel to manga to anime to movies. We talk about everything over there, and we'd love for you to join the family. Either way, thank you so much for your support by just watching this video, and I'll see you next time right here at Comicstorian.